Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Dialogue. I'm Taimur, Shamil. The regional dynamics are changing, and Pakistan and the regional allies have been working on various projects, working for peace and stability in the region. Pakistan is collaborating with China, Russia, Turkey, and Afghanistan to work for the security situation for peace and stability in Afghanistan. Pakistan has also embarked on a mega economic activity that is China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. The challenges are there, the prospects are there, the opportunities are also there, but at the same time, there are structural changes as well. United States and Pakistan relations have seen some ups and downs in the last year and a half. And many people think since the US President Donald Trump is in power, is in office, the Pakistan-US relations have seen ups and downs. On the 1st of January 2018, the US President Trump tweeted and he said that he looks at Pakistan as a country with deceit and lies. These were the words in the tweet. Pakistan reacted to this tweet, and it was made very clear from the Pakistani side that Pakistan would not fight anybody else's war in Afghanistan. Pakistan would not become the scapegoat. But at the same time, Pakistan would certainly like Pakistan and US to go further and improve relations. But every country has to see its own national interest. We have also seen recently some economic rift between United States and China. Also keeping in mind that China is the biggest trade partner with the United States. These two big countries certainly have economic rifts, and these are also going to have implications on smaller countries in the region perhaps. What are going to be the implications for Pakistan? Since Pakistan has been working very closely with the United States for the last many years, for many decades for that matter, but now the challenges are there, the dynamics are changing, and the opportunities are there for Pakistan in the region. Pakistan, as I said earlier, would be working closely with China. On the 7th of August this month, Pakistan signed an agreement, military agreement, according to which Pakistani military officers would be going to Russia and would take training over there. Russian troops have been coming to Pakistan for the military training. Recently, the news is that United States moves to shut Pakistan out of military training. There is international military and training program, United States International Military and Training Program, that has been going on for the last several decades, and Pakistan has been a part of it. Pakistan has been benefiting because of this, and US has also been benefiting because of this program. 37 Pakistani officers have benefited from this program. This has been something that has been benefiting, this program has been benefiting both countries. But in a recent move, the Trump administration has been cutting down and stopping some of the programs that have been going on in the United States in different war colleges. What are going to be the implications for Pakistan-US relations? What are the opportunities for Pakistan in the region and internationally? And what is going to be the future of Pakistan-US relations? We're going to talk about this, and for that we have our special guest in the studios today. Our first guest is Ambassador Shahid Kiani, a renowned senior diplomat and an expert on Pakistan's foreign policy and Pakistan's relations with the United States. So welcome to the show. Our second guest is Mr. Brigadier Retired Ehsan Ali Shah, a renowned senior defense analyst and an expert on Pakistani security matters, also Pakistan's relations with Afghanistan and the United States. Welcome to the show, sir. Our third guest is Mr. Shahryar Khan, a renowned international expert, an expert on Pakistan's foreign policy. Welcome to the show, Mr. Shahryar. Mr. Kiani, starting with the recent developments, this move to shut Pakistani officers to take part in the international military and training program in the United States, what are going to be the implications for Pakistan-US relations? Because recently, General James Mattis, who was a former Secretary of Defense, he said that he was shocked at this news that this has been happening, and this is going to have adverse negative impact on Pakistan-US relations. How do you see shutting down of this program?
It is very unfortunate. First of all, this development is unfortunate in the context of Pakistan-US relations. The training of Pakistani officers, this is called the capacity building of the officers, because Pakistan Army is a well-known army, and has been, and United States or Pakistan are not strangers to each other. Pakistan Army officers have been training in various defense establishments of US for the last many years, Army, Navy, Air Force. And now this time, Pakistan, the 66 vacancies were kept for the possibly for the Pakistan Army. The unfortunate part is that many a times the State Department or even the Pentagon is not consulted. And in a handful of few people sitting in the White House, they dominate the policies and they issue an edict and say that, you see, as part of our global policy, we are shutting out this thing. Now, in many Senate Armed Forces Committee meetings, the senior army officers are on record of telling the Senate that the shutting out of these training facilities to Pakistani Armed Forces officers is a counterproductive thing. Reason is the US, whatever one says, is the only sole power, it's a global power. And when it envisages and understands that Pakistan Armed Forces played a very vital role in the policy making in Pakistan. So if you shut out and you do not, this is I'm telling you from the context of US Armed Forces people telling the Senate, if you shut out the training facilities, then what happens over a period of time, they will not be able to have an interaction with those officers, because they develop a rapport with them.
And understanding the leadership.
Absolutely, leadership. They are the future leaders of the Pakistan Armed Forces, the Pakistan Army. So once they reach a level where they are contributing to the policy, the security defense policies, they do not know them. And that can be counterproductive to both Pakistan and the United States. So this is something which many a times the White House people do not understand, and that is something which, in my opinion, and now you will see, though defense establishments are facing serious problems, how to fill up those 66 vacancies.
So what we assume in Pakistan is that perhaps Pentagon and State Department, they give their suggestions to White House and then decisions are taken. And you are saying perhaps it is not like that. White House.
I can tell you why. State Department, like our Ministry of Foreign Affairs, is an institution which 24/7 interacts with the countries on a bilateral level. They understand the implications of such things. They understand the advantages of such policies. So they are never, many times they are not concerned. I'll give you one of the most important decisions which the Nixon administration took was reaching out to China through Pakistan. State Department was never consulted.
But since President Donald Trump, US President Donald Trump is in power, is in office, things have been pretty different.
Yeah, I want to just tell you, there have been so many changes at the top of the State Department. Many vacancies are still not being filled in the state. There is a feeling that State Department is being nudged, away from the important, significant policy making decisions or contributions. So it will not, even in the longer run, would not help US. Last thing, when United States is reaching out to Afghanistan, talking to Taliban and others, how can it try to, push away Pakistan?
And perhaps General Jim Mattis, he was saying the same thing.
Absolutely.
That realizing the gravity of the situation, Brigadier Hassan Ali Shah, if US is shutting down these programs, let's say, and not allowing Pakistani military officers to take training in the United States, and also this obviously brings both countries together. And if this is not happening, looking at the larger context that we'll be discussing in a while, implications would be negative. Also keeping Afghanistan in mind, how do you see this?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I think it has happened the second time. It happened in 90 also, through Pressler Amendment. And now their senators, some of their senators and the army officers have said that because of that, we had many problems later on in understanding and consulting the Pakistani officers, because when you cut off all these relations, then there is no people-to-people or army-to-army contact. The war colleges in Pennsylvania, naval colleges there, the schools there, and many other institutes. It is a program which is international military and education training program. Education is also part of that. For that, they kept $2.4 billion in their this planning year that Pakistani 66 officers will be trained. And so far, from the American Naval War Colleges, 37 officers, including the present ISI general and all those officers, have been trained. So once they talk to each other on one, so they understand each other, and it is very easy for them to point out and reach the consultative level. It will be missing now, but I tell you, it will keep open more options for Pakistan. As you have said, Pakistan has already signed an agreement on 7th of this month with Russia, and Pakistani officers will be sent there also. Pakistan is also in contact, and we are in military to military relations with Turkey also, with Malaysia also, with Indonesia also, right. And we are sending. We will now start depending more. The point which they are curbing and they are hesitant and they want to control it, we will be getting closer to that. We will be sending more officers to Chinese school, Chinese war colleges and naval colleges. So the implication will be that they are closing a gap, creating a gap rather, between army to army. This is number one.
And implications, let's say, then on Afghanistan, because keeping Afghanistan
I'm coming to that
mind.
point. I'm coming to that point. The problem which they are facing, the biggest problem at the moment is Afghanistan. As the Russians and everybody has said that Daesh is being relocated there, and almost 5,000 to 6,000 of Daesh presence is there. And you see the recent development carnage is mostly happened by Daesh inside Afghanistan. You have seen and studied yesterday what has happened in Ghazni. The Taliban force has gone and they have done this. And now in Farah also, in the month of May, what has happened in Farah. And in northern Afghanistan, Badakhshan province and Balkh, you have seen, and what has happened to there in that Prick province, where the atrocity was done by a commander, Rashid Dostum. That province is called Kunduz, in Kunduz. So all these, the problem for America is that Afghanistan is not coming under their control. Taliban is not coming to the table which they want. Now they have opened a process. If they would have been wiser, they are in contact with Taliban. The direct talks has already, it has taken place. Now they need the help from Pakistan Army, from Pakistan government, from Pakistan intelligence agencies, and at that juncture they have done this, which will create a very wide gap.
And this would be certainly important for them. Mr. Sharia, talking about all these things, these developments, do you think that Pakistan is perhaps more tilted towards China and Russia now, and do you see a gap between Pakistan and US? And would it be feasible for Pakistan perhaps, or for US, to drift away from US and go in, let's say, what people call the China bloc and Russia bloc?
Well, it's quite obvious for the last couple of years that the relationship between Pakistan and the United States, they're not ideal. We have rather tense relationship, and United States is putting pressure and more pressure on Pakistan by cutting off different aid and security aid, and now these training programs. Pakistan has also been put in the gray list. And now this military training is the latest thing. So what we see is we're not improving at all. And to cover that, to cover our losses with the United States, we have already tilted towards China and Russia and finding other allies for ourselves. Now, how does it bode, for United States and for Pakistan and our relationship? We still have to consider that United States is the superpower. It still is calling the shot at the global scale. Look at the trade war with China and the United States, and how it can impact China, the economy of China, and then its repercussions for Pakistan. So we, as a country who looks after its own interests, I think we have a relationship which goes back to the creation of Pakistan with the United States, and there had been ups and downs in our relationship. We faced Pressler Amendment as well in the past, but then we come back again. We renegotiate with them because the relationship between both the countries is beneficial to both on certain occasions. In certain, when there is divergence of on some issues, for instance, now in Afghanistan we are diverging on certain issues. That's why the United States is putting more pressure on us.
Is it just because of the few, let's say, diverging points in Afghanistan, or do you see it a structural change?
Yes, in the United States, this time around,
Pakistan-US relations, right.
with the arrival of Donald Trump in the office, things have a bit changed. He is more aggressive. He does diplomacy or coercion on his own, and he has shown that he follows through whatever he says. Look at China. He slapped China with the tariffs on $50 billion of their products. China reciprocated with 34. Now he is, slapping them back with 200 billion. And it seems that China would lose this war because China has no more other US products to increase tariffs on. The trade deficit there is $375 billion with the United States. So what it's going to do the next? So, and there, also with its allies, like with the NATO, it asked him to increase the budget. It levied tariffs on Canada, European Union, even on Turkey. It's levying sanctions on Turkey as well. So what it shows an aggression there in the office, and that's why we see that we are not improving anywhere with Pakistan as well. But Pakistan should keep always its door open to to diversify its relationship with other countries. The losses that you make with United States, for instance, this training program, so we can always go for alternative. It would be rather, I think, loss for the United States because they lose that communication channel with Pakistan, and for they also lose that soft image of United States with the Pakistani, let's say, high-ups, because when Pakistani officials are exposed to the American system and they understand them better. Now, when they are not exposed to the American system, we may not understand them better. It's it works both ways. So I think it's a loss, in a long-term loss for them. So I believe that Pakistan at the moment should, when the new government assumes office, I think the daunting task would be this: how to strike this balance, to keep the relationship with the United States, to avoid all the pressures, and also to diversify and salvage the situation.
Two very important points, Mr. Kenny, that Dr. Shahryar had just brought up. One is that Pakistan and US relations have seen worse times in the past, but IMET, International Military Education Training Program, was never suspended, and perhaps there was no break in it. Once maybe that was in 90s, but not generally. We saw Raymond Davis case, we saw Abbottabad and Salalah and many other incidents, but this never happened. Shutting down such kind of programs would have serious implications, do you think, or what is the message, let's say, from the United States, Trump administration?
You've rightly pointed out that there have been more serious, incidents have taken place, which have, put so much of strain on Pakistan-US relations. But those were different administrations. You see, you're talking about Obama's 6 years, 8 years. 8 years. Here you have President Trump. Now his, as very famously said, his vision, world vision, is quite different, and the new conservatives around him. You look at Mike Pompeo, what a combination. He was director of CIA, now he's Secretary of State, two different worlds. One is overt and one is covert. So two different worlds, but this is his vision. And this is one of the reasons that Mike Pompeo, even though a very senior public figure, his language is also very abrasive. When he talks about, when he talked about the IMF link with the Chinese loan. Right, yeah. So using
that was literally a warning. That we are watching if IMF bails out Pakistan.
Very serious, very serious language. Now, this is, I hope the Brigadier Sahab also agrees with me, it has a direct link with the situation in Afghanistan, with what is happening in Afghanistan. They are not moving an inch. This is now the third US administration. We're bogged down in Afghanistan. Nothing is moving. Nothing is moving. They are talking to Taliban. Sometimes we are not talking. They are, in my opinion, they are talking to Taliban. Now the withdrawal of the 66 vacancies to Pakistan is a direct, they are now telling the Pakistan army that, look, we are withdrawing this thing and we need your support. Pakistan army is on record of supporting whatever is possible to stabilize Afghanistan.
Right.
Look at all those areas in North and South Waziristan where these all the extremist elements had their sanctuaries. They are no more there. They are no more there. But the pressure continues, and I do not know to what extent will they continue to put pressure. This is another indication of the IMF. This was something the United States should do some soul searching. For example, now if Pakistan there are reports that Pakistan would be getting some loan from the Islamic Development Bank. Would again that be said that we are returning? This is not the way that sovereign countries, interact
with each other.
Implement their policies. This is not the way. Pakistan is a sovereign country. We are in serious economic difficulties as the new government comes into power. Everybody knows they have a different policy. Ms. Asad Omar is on record as having a different policy to come to grips with this,
right.
And we will be needing help from many countries. But if we are threatened, the reason is nothing. Who's the elephant in the room? China, because they are now trying to contain China. They have to have the trade war, and now they are telling us, two things: the surplus in trade with China, and then the BRI. These are serious threats to the new conservatives, especially in the White House. So they are going to use all Tom, Dick, and Harry, methods to pressurize United States, pressurize China, and in which Pakistan is being cornered because Pakistan has very important relationship with China.
This is a very important point, and we continue our discussion on this point that primarily the issue is China, and then comes Afghanistan, and then there are implications for Pakistan. We're going to continue our discussion on this point on Pakistan-US relations and what are going to be the implications on Pakistan, looking at the economic rift between US and China, and also looking at the regional issue, Afghanistan. We're going to discuss this after this break. Stay with us.
Tent pegging is an equestrian sport practiced in many countries around the world. Wooden targets are placed on ground at a specific distance, and players wearing traditional dress and turban have to run their horses and try to hit the target and pick it up with a lance. Target missing is considered as a failure. Tent pegging is thought to have originated in the subcontinent. Historians say that mounted soldiers would gallop through enemy camps, removing the tent pegs with their lances and swords. They would be followed by more mounted soldiers who took advantage of the surprise and havoc caused by collapsed tents and a confused enemy. Today, tent pegging is practiced around the world, but is especially popular in Australia, India, Israel, Oman, Pakistan, South Africa and the United Kingdom. The Olympic Council of Asia included tent pegging as an official sport in 1982, and the International Federation for Equestrian Sports recognized it as an official equestrian discipline in 2004. After independence of Pakistan, the game came under clouds because of lack of state patronage, which ultimately diversified to more glitzy, more glamorous games like cricket and hockey. Public interest in the cities thus diverted these games of glamour, yet the landlords, bourgeois and the rural folk kept it alive. New and emerging national tent pegging associations have helped spread the sport's popularity. Players from Pakistan are now regularly participating in international tent pegging competitions, and many of them have left indelible impressions by winning gold medals many a times.
Welcome back. We are discussing Pakistan-US relations. Looking at the larger context, the larger picture, United States has economic rift with China. US and China both have economic rift. There are structural changes as well. There are regional changes as well. Pakistan is collaborating with China, Russia, Iran for that matter, with Afghanistan as well to address all these issues. Working on a mega economic, Pakistan is working on a mega economic activity, China-Pakistan economic corridor. Many people see the American pressure on Pakistan as a result of Pakistan's tilt towards China and perhaps a tilt towards Russia. Is it true? And what is going to be the future of Pakistan-US relations and the regional dynamics? We are going to discuss about this. Brigadier Shamil, we are discussing all these issues. Many people think that China and Afghanistan primarily are two big concerns for United States. China at a bigger level, at the international level for United States, and Afghanistan as a regional issue. Longest war, United States longest war in the region. Pakistan comes under the banner of China as well, and also in the wake of Afghanistan, what is happening in Afghanistan. So very relevant for United States. This pressure from the United States on Pakistan, what we were just discussing with Ambassador Kiani. I will just start with the first tweet, lies and deceit. These were the words that were used by US President Donald Trump. Then the cutting of security assistance to Pakistan, FATF, putting Pakistan on FATF, that was also initiated by United States, and recent statements by the US Secretary of State Pompeo that the United States is watching and warning IMF not to bail out Pakistan. These signs are not very, I would say, pleasant for Pakistan. These pressures and Pakistan-US relations, how do you see them?
I'll just elaborate on China, Afghanistan, and then come to Pakistan. You know, the China Road and Belt policy, they have kept $8 trillion for that. And they are connecting 60 countries in the world, 60 countries in the world through this Belt and Road Policy initiative. Now, America is under this threat that China is becoming a global power, regional power. It was already there, but now it is connecting through this trade and road and belt policy. It is creating a big threat to America, and economy, major chunk of the economy will be controlled by them. Since Pakistan is closer to China and America is against China because of economic and security concerns also, what America is doing, that they are creating, investing on India to bring it as a counterweight to China. This is number one. And it also goes against the interest of Pakistan, because you know the relation and the tussles between India and Pakistan. So this is number two. Number three, that China now has given a project to Pakistan that is CPEC. You know the importance of CPEC. It has 3 roads, central highways, 1 north, and then coastal highway also. And it has many power projects also. And it has highway projects, train projects. And then
it's a big project.
It's a big project of $60 billion. So now America is already under this threat and pressure that if it is completed, Pakistan and China will gain from it. And it will be at the cost of India. India as a stooge, and then America as a power, a bigger power. That is a big concern for America. Now I'm coming to Afghanistan. Now you see that trillions of dollars has been spent by America to subside the war, rather win a war inside Afghanistan. Now they have spent more than so many trillions, and now you see yesterday what has happened. Day before yesterday was what has happened. They have not been out of 452 provinces inside Afghanistan. Half of the provinces are being directly controlled by Taliban. And in half of the non-governing areas, the Americans cannot go. They have to ask permission from Taliban to cross those areas.
They have influence over there.
Now you see, and now when Americans have come under this pressure by Taliban to open a direct communication with them, siding Ashraf Ghani and Abdullah, now these government inside Afghanistan are also under this suspicion that we are being sidelined. Now at this juncture, what I have said earlier, they needed the support of Pakistan, particularly Pakistan Army, because more than 2,600 kilometer of border is being manned by Pakistan Army.
Very aptly said, but the question is, keeping all these things in mind, very rightly said, what you just mentioned, we don't see anything docile from US. What we see is an aggressive approach.
I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that.
Why is that aggressive approach
Let me
towards
finish
Afghanistan
within a sentence or two. Now, the center of gravity in all this and in the integration and integrity of Pakistan also, Pakistan Army is the center of gravity. Now, they are under this impression that this problem can be solved directly inside Afghanistan by Pakistan Army. They are wrong. Afghanistan is an independent country. Pakistan Army can help them, can mitigate the problem, can help in resolving, but we cannot order Taliban to come on this negotiating table and finish this problem on the terms of America and Afghanistan. They are stakeholders inside Afghanistan.
And they are
not foreigners. They are not Daesh. They are the resident of Afghanistan, where they enjoy the popular support inside. The indicators are there. Right. You have seen it. Now, at this moment, Pakistan Army can help them in a way. We are already doing that. We are plugging the border. We are fencing the border. We are not letting inside the cross-border movement there.
But we are doing all these things. But the interesting part is that we hear the do more mantra, and we see aggression.
No, we are not.
And
we are not doing all these things for America.
Right.
Let me tell you.
For ourselves.
For ourselves.
How to go about with US?
Because unstable Afghanistan is not in the interest of the region, but particularly for Pakistan. When Afghanistan is unstable, you cannot ensure stability inside Afghanistan. So leave of America. But what America gains inside Afghanistan? Because they are directly present and fighting a war inside Afghanistan.
Right.
By all these activities, America is a beneficiary.
Dr. Shariar, coming back to your point, that implications for Pakistan, we're discussing Afghanistan, we're discussing China, our relations with China. There are other options for Pakistan like Russia. We have been improving relations with Iran as well. Chief of Army Staff has been visiting Iran pretty often, a couple of times, and also the Pakistani diplomats. But the issue is that what you were saying, China might not be in a position to perhaps take the pressure of the tariff war, the economic trade war between China and US. What would be the implication for Pakistan then?
Well, let me put it, in other words as well. My point. The United States economy is a domestic economy. It's driven, by domestic production and consumption. Chinese economy, on the other hand, is an export-oriented economy. That's why they have surplus of budget, and that's why they are investing $8 trillion also in the BRI. And as my co-panelists mentioned, that BRI project is seen as a threat by the United States. Also, this tariff war, if you look at it, the difference or the gap between United States and China is such that it's tipped in favor of China. So if there are more tariffs from both the sides, it would be China would be affected. For instance, the United States levied tariffs on $50 billion, which the China reciprocated. That was the strategy, retaliate in the same kind. Then United States now has escalated it to $200 billion. So the United States has no more than $160 or $70 billion of exports to China. What would China do next? And already some of the companies have started worrying in the China because they are either export driven, they export to the United States, or there are some foreign companies like Taiwan's and other from these countries who are in China and who import from United States. So they are also thinking now to relocate to other areas. Now, this is the strategy which China developed in response to Donald Trump's strategy, and I believe it's not working. So China would now think again and devise another strategy how to counter that. Now, coming to the implication
China needs to have a different strategy. They has to come up with a new strategy.
Of course, they will have. What else they could do? Can they have more tariffs with tariffs? It's not going to work. So what is for Pakistan? Now, our economy, we all know it's in crunch. and we need some foreign investment as well, and we need to reduce that import bill, and because of that our economy may be in a kind of I won't use the word bankrupt, but we need some kind of a funds from outside.
Loans for that.
Loans for that matter. Now, when you take loan, of course, IMF may not give you loan if United States put pressure on us, and we may go to other areas. But is it really how the countries come out of such situation? It's not always the loans. For instance, you can see the example of other countries which were on the verge of bankruptcy. What did they do? For instance, they can always renegotiate the already existing loans and restructure them, pay back the creditors later, or delay it, or decrease the interest of the already existing loans, or diversify, take loans from others as well. And domestically, your economy should be productive and wealth generating economy. Also, austerity measures which the current government also, the coming government also thinks that they can provide. So these are some of the measures which you take together so you can come out of that situation. So you have to renegotiate with all these countries. But this concern is also valid. I think that if your economy is not generating wealth, then what happens that you always restructure, you always take loan from one to adjust the loan from other, because you're not generating surplus wealth.
That's a valid point, because, and also Pakistan has few other options, the Asian Development Bank for that matter, and few other options. But Mr. Shahid Kiani, talking about these loans, what we were discussing earlier, there are people who think in Pakistan that there might be some pressures from US, and we are going to come out of it, but Pakistan would be having some other options. How do you see these options for Pakistan, and what can Pakistani new government that would be coming in? Challenges for the new government, and what would be the foreign policy options for them?
I would like to, first of all, just very briefly say to you a comment that Mr. Imran Khan, the Prime Minister designate's speech, the victory speech, showed you the contours of what the foreign policy of the new government would be. That is reaching out, reconciliation, talking to the governments. And there is a long line of ambassadors who already met Mr. Khan, and Mr. Khan understands the ramifications. He has a very good team around him, ramifications. You have to look at the foreign policy, which economic policy is part of it, in a very rational and very cool-minded way. You just cannot, just because somebody tells you, okay, you can sideline United States and go to other countries, that is not a very rational way. We have to reach out to the United States, build bridges. It is extremely important. United States remain the sole superpower. It has global influence in whatever institution you talk about, in the banking. I'll just give you a small example. Look at how some big companies have withdrawn from Iran because they understand. They've been told to stay, but they say no. We understand what global banking thing is. So the other thing is you want to reach out. China has a very important bank, AIB, Asian Industry. But that is one option. But my opinion would be that we should continue to, if China is giving us in our difficult period assistance, or the Islamic Development Bank gives assistance, we should be able to make US understand. And just one small important thing, sir. As the new government comes into power, I think as they talk about Naya Pakistan, it will be extremely important to have a professional ambassador from the Pakistan Foreign Service, either from the headquarters or in some other station, to be posted in the United States. And I tell you why. You cannot afford to have, because professional ambassadors are all-rounded. They understand what to do with economic and what to do with the foreign policy. So I just wish that Mr. Imran Khan, Prime Minister designate, appoints a professional ambassador in Washington, D.C. sooner than later, so that they take the first step in building bridges.
Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Ambassador Shahid Kiani, pleasure having you on the show. Brigadier Hassan Shah, thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Sharia, thank you for joining us. Pleasure having you on the show. That is all from today's show. Pakistan has certainly more options in the region, but at the same time, sanity must prevail, both from US side and from the Pakistani side. Pakistan and US both have been fighting a common foe, common enemy, that is extremism and terrorism. They have been collaborating for the last many decades. The challenges are there, but as Mr. Shahid Kani was of the view that we need professionals who can save the day ultimately. Thank you for watching today's program. See you next time. Khuda Hafiz.
Thank you.
On board by the government of Pakistan. So together with the Kashmiri leadership, I think this diplomatic offensive should be followed through, because now the Indians, because of their atrocities, they seem to be in the dock and needs to be followed.
And what about, briefly, about the spoilers that people on both sides have been very much concerned about, that we want to talk about peace and stability, Pakistan wants to talk about peace and stability. But if anything happens inside India, Indian forces have to take care of that, and,
Yes.
and this is something sort of an issue.
Actually, as far as India is concerned, the spoilers, they are a part of the spoilers themselves, because they stage marriage activities. Most of the activities, including Bombay and the Pathankot, had been stage marriage. There had been books written on those events. So when the state becomes a part of the spoilers itself, and because of their larger interest in the region, so then you have to live with that type of situation. That's what I feel.
Gentlemen, thank you for joining us.
Pleasure.
Lieutenant General Naim Lodhi, pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for your time. Major General Saad Khatak.
One point
Sure.
that I wanted to make was that there is an international sort of narrative right now being floated, also supported by India, that the new leadership, Imran Khan specifically, is being posed or projected as a puppet of the army, perhaps with the intent of provoking a response from him, because as the personality that he has, and with the objective of putting him on the confrontation mode straight away. And I think he has a lot of other things to do. So this narrative is being built, and this narrative is also being domestically very well projected and supported. So I think the new government has to guard against these type of narratives which are in float in the media, international as well as domestic.
But I think people of Pakistan, they know the best who they have elected, and I think ultimately the people of Pakistan would decide what and who is who and what is what. Thank you for joining us.
We must trust their decision. We have
The people, thank you. Major General Saad Khatak, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your time.
That's
all from today's exclusive and special show with the Defence Minister, Lieutenant General Naim Lodhi and Major General Saad Khatak. Thank you for watching today's program. See you next time. Khuda Hafiz.